Assalamu alaikum и добро пожаловать на мой канал. My legal birth name is Language Simp, and I am a hyper-polyglot GigaChad alpha male who is very attractive to every woman and man on the planet. I love learning languages. Aside from working out, sleeping, and doing other alpha male activities, all I do is learn languages. But there are a lot of languages in the galaxy. Like, there's gotta be at least 30 of them. In North America alone, there are 3, and in Europe, there are at least 4, so I can't learn them all within the average life expectancy of a man on an American diet. People are constantly asking me which languages I want to learn, and when I'm gonna learn their language, which got me thinking, Yani, which languages do I not want to learn? So today I'm going to present to you the top 5 languages that I am probably never going to seriously study. Let me know in the comments which language you'll never learn, and without further ado, Yelabina. Smacking us in the face at the number 5 spot, we have Korean. Obviously, Toi Tang Houk Tiang Viet, and I could see myself learning John Cena language or even Indonesian after that, but Squid Game language just doesn't really do it for me. I like Korean, but it's extremely difficult and takes a lot of time. Honestly, I'm just not enough of a Koreaboo to learn it. I'm really into writing systems, and I don't hate the Korean writing system, but I don't stan it the same way that people stanned BTS before they joined the armed forces. It's artificial, like Diet Coke. It was designed by some king back in the day, and it's just a bunch of circles and sticks. Yeah, it's kinda cool how the letters come together, but reading and writing it is like playing Tetris, the way you have to try to fit all the letters together. And it also reminds me of those toys for babies where you put the shapes in the correct holes that I still can't figure out. The grammar is also a nightmare, and I already have enough language-related nightmares. And whenever I hear Korean spoken, it seems like they're just repeating the same word over and over, mainly smida. It's like, hi, how are you, smida? My name is Josh, smida. Oh, sorry, I don't like men, smida. It's like that episode of SpongeBob, you know? I don't understand. I, smida, don't smida, understand smida. K-pop is mid, Twice has some bangers, I love plastic surgery, Parasite was a good movie, but all that's not enough to convince me. South Korea seems like a cool country, but I know that if I visited, I wouldn't be able to resist the urge to throw my arms back and Naruto run through the DMZ into the northern promised land. If there was a way to learn North Korean online without signing away my life to the American war machine, I would consider it. Coming in at the number 4 spot, we have Portuguese from Portugal. I love porches, geese, and Portuguese, and I just happen to prefer the Brazilian dialect, so that's the one I learn. Brazilian port sounds so open, expressive, and fofo, like Eu falo português do Brasil, but port sounds rushed and closed off, like I don't hate Portuguese from Portugal. I actually think it sounds pretty interesting and pretty. In the past, I was very curious about it, and I even wanted to learn some of it and go spend some time in Vila Real de Santo Antonio, but now I refuse to even dabble in it or flirt with it. And it's all because I got verbally attacked by a famous Portuguese YouTuber which turned me off of the dialect forever. Basically, in my language review Porch of Geese episode, I focused heavily on Brazilian port since it's more common. Like, it literally has 20 times more speakers than port, and it's what I learn, but that triggered this Portuguese guy Wuant so bad that he made a video roasting me with 500,000 views and a thumbnail quoting me saying something that I definitely never said. Then I got a lot of angry messages from Portuguese people, even some threatening me and telling me never to step foot in their country. So, I won't. No, actually I will. I'll grind out D1 Brazilian port, marry a Brazilian woman, travel to Portugal, and have hundreds of thousands of Brazilian port-speaking babies who will influence port and make it more like Brazilian port. And when I go to Portugal, I'll 100% be using my phone for things like maps, emails, texting, and to call home, and I'll do that with Saily, who I'd like to thank for sponsoring today's video. Saily is a new eSIM service app that offers you several affordable eSIM plans in over 150 countries, allowing you to easily get connection abroad or even in your home country. And right now you can get an exclusive 15% off of Saily eSIM data plans. Just download the Saily app and use code LanguageSimp at checkout, or scan the code on screen to get started right now. I'm sure a lot of you know just how bad it sucks to look for a SIM card when you're traveling, so to avoid the hassle, I've been going through my carrier for data, but I'm always on hold with them for at least an hour and it's way too expensive. So from now on, I'll be using Saily. daily because it's quick and easy to set up, and it's much more convenient than buying a physical SIM card. Now you can finally say goodbye to the hours wasted running around desperately looking for public Wi-Fi. Saily is compatible for both iOS and Android devices, and if your device happens to not be compatible, they'll give you a full refund. Scan the code on screen right now, or download the Saily app today and use code LanguageSimp at checkout to get an exclusive 15% discount on Saily eSIM data plans. Now at number 3 we have Bulgarian. I love Slavic languages, and I can confidently say that I also love Bulgarian. It sounds super nice and crisp, kind of crunchy, and Bulgari is a gorgeous and underrated country. I also firmly believe that Bulg is by far the easiest Slavic language to learn. In fact, it's too easy, and that's why I couldn't learn it with a good conscience. Unlike the vast majority of Slavic languages, Bulg does not have grammatical cases. And if you don't know what a grammatical case is, it's basically the hardest grammar concept in the Milky Way galaxy, which causes nouns to have like 20 different forms, and they're responsible for making languages like Russian and Polish infamously difficult. So it's typically very impressive when you reach a high level in a Slavic language, since they all have these nonsensical, complex, and intricate case systems. People salivate when they find out that I know dozens of forms of hundreds of Russian nouns. But since Bulg doesn't have dozens of forms of each noun, it kind of feels like stolen valor to brag about your competence in it as if you've learned a Slavic language, even though it technically is a Slavic language. I want my Slavic languages to make me feel depressed and hopeless. Bulg would make me too happy, so for that reason, I'm out. Bulgarian's not depressing enough for me. When I study Slavic languages, it's because I'm in my feels or I'm in a sad boy arc. You should have to work hard and break your back like an old coal miner in order to learn a Slavic language. If we could start a movement bringing awareness to how easy Bulg is, maybe I'd feel less shameful about learning it. Or maybe the devs could add cases to the language or change the language family. Just call it Semitic, I don't know. I'm pretty sure everything I just said is also true for Macedonian, but I like saying the word Bulg. Coming in at the number 2 spot, we have Hindi. I really like how Hindi sounds, and it's awesome how learning it unlocks a huge amount of very unique DLC since there are hundreds of millions of NPCs who speak it. Hindi also has huge shock factor potential, which is evident from this clip that I recorded about 2 years ago.
¿Hablas español?
Sí, 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 claro que sí. ¿De dónde sois?
De India.
English.
De India.
¿Y tú?
Ah, soy de India también. मैं हिंदी सीख रहा हूँ.
क्या बात
Wow!
है भाई?
I studied it for a few weeks about 2 years ago, and I'll admit it was fun to speak and study it, but it was frustrating in ways that I could have never imagined before I got into it. Firstly, I had like a dozen Hindi speakers on a call with me while I was learning, and they couldn't agree on the basics of their own language. I would ask them how to say something, and they would come up with multiple different answers, and the 12 of them would get into a fiery debate over it, which was hilarious and fun, but demotivating because it felt like the language wasn't very standardized. I must say, however, that they were really fun people to practice with, and I'm very grateful they helped me as I did reach a basic conversational level, mainly consisting of very offensive swear words. But the biggest thing that makes me not want to learn it anymore is the constant code switching into American that Hindi speakers do. If you don't know what code switching is, it's when you speak mainly in one language, but you switch to another to say some things. When I speak a foreign language, I don't want to speak American. I prefer to speak in the foreign language. I live next to a Walmart. I speak plenty of American every day. I think it's fine to code switch a word or two into a sentence from time to time, but watching Bollywood movies, I noticed how they would sometimes switch to American for complete sentences. They would say something like, Namaste bhai, mujhe lagta hai ki the pizza is running late. Can we go pick it up at the store? Maybe they like doing that, or maybe my inclination towards anti-colonialism is outdated in 2024. I don't know. Namaskar, England. If I didn't know a word in Hindi, I could say it in American and it would still sound perfectly normal, which felt like cheating and was rather demotivating. But screw it, I would still learn Urdu even though it's like the same thing. Also, I'm more interested in regional Indian languages nowadays like German. God, I wish Germany was in India. Doesn't currywurst come from the German part of India? God, I'm so shot. Before I reveal my number 1 pick, let's discuss some honorable mentions. The first honorable mention is American. Yeah, this one's a bit of a technicality, but I will never learn American. Since I spawned in the United States of America, I can automatically speak it. The DLC came pre-installed in my body. The second honorable mention is Norwegian. If you didn't know, Swedish, Danish, and Norwegian are the same language wearing different Roblox skins with slightly different features. And I happen to prefer Danish and even Swedish to Norwegian. This is only an honorable mention because I'm not sure about it. It would be really cool for me to one day get D1 in Danish and Swedish and then get D1 in Norwegian to complete the trifecta. And the last honorable mention is all conlangs except Tokipona. No JimBob663 on Discord, I don't want to learn your conlang based on mixing Thai with Navajo but only using the word pineapple in both languages with altered tones and clicks added that you think will one day unite the globe and solve world hunger. Tokipona is based, but aside from that, I don't want to learn any conlangs. You can tell me about them, it might be kind of interesting, and I don't think you're cringe if you create them yourself, but I have languages that actually exist that I need to learn. And at the number 1 spot, we have... Afrikaans. Where do I even begin with this one? First of all, Afrikaans is basically just a dialect of Dutch, which is a dialect of German, with a fancy regional name spoken in South Africa. I'm not the biggest fan of Dutch, but the language has a lot of cute properties, so I could see myself learning it one day, especially since it's easy, but even that's gonna be a big leap for me to take. So it would require a miracle for me to want to learn Afrikaans. Like I'd have to spontaneously teleport to South Africa, or my celebrity crush would have to start learning it. Wait, why does Katy Perry speak Afrikaans? And even before Dutch, I want to master Austrian and language. So Afrikaans is really low on the list. It's a colonial language, so it's got a rough past, as there was a literal uprising when South Africa made it an official language. And in the present day, it's only the native language of about 14% of South Africans, so it doesn't really unlock a lot of DLC. And I would much rather learn Zulu or Xhosa first if I one day choose to explore that DLC. I don't think Afrikaans sounds bad or is too hard or anything, but South Africa is just not a country I really want to visit, and the language doesn't interest me enough. And that's my list of languages that I will never study. Truthfully, Yanni, there's a good chance that this list changes and that I learn all of them anyway. I mean, years ago I swore I would never learn Peruvian, and now I speak it fluently and watch telenovelas to fall asleep. Let me know which languages you never want to learn in the comments, and let's start some toxic debates. And please consider supporting me on Patreon for just $3 a month. There I make videos teaching you how to learn a language, and I answer direct questions from my patrons in a long video that I make about 3 times a month.